I'm Jamie Seeker, and this is What It Takes. Each episode, I sit down with real business owners to talk about their journey, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome to What It Takes podcast. Today, I'm so excited. I have Karie Cowden, the founder of Connect the Dots Promotions, with us. This is a company specializing in promotional products that integrate into broader marketing strategies. And if you know Karie, you know her firm collaborates with major organizations such as Walmart, Boeing, Desert Botanical Gardens, providing custom branded items and innovative solutions for events. Karie has extensive experience in marketing, entrepreneurship, and building collaborative relationships. She's a graduate of leadership programs at UCLA and ASU, and her business emphasizes curiosity, collaboration, and excellence in service. So welcome, Karie. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Jamie.
Thank you. Okay, so can you tell us a story of how Connect the Dots Promotion started and what inspired you to enter into this promotional marketing space?
Sure. So like most stories in the promotional marketing space, it's not a story where you go to college and you get a degree in swag. So I used to work for a temp agency, and I had just moved back from Michigan, and my grandmother worked at a Hallmark store. And an owner of one of the swag shops reached out and said, hey, she was like a regular that would come into this Hallmark store all the time. Said, my granddaughter just moved back. She needs a job. And so my grandma was like, oh, my granddaughter. And so I went and interviewed, and I had no idea what I was interviewing for, and ended up becoming sales support. And that was in 1996. So coming up on 30 years in the industry. And I've worked in all kinds of different ways, but Connect the Dots was born 16 years ago out of just wanted to do it myself because I felt like I could do it. And I have.
Yeah, you have. You sure have. Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of your involvement in the community. That's one of the things that I really think, at least just in knowing you, and, we've kind of been in different circles and kind of overlapped our interactions for quite some time now. And I think one of the constant things that I've seen is how involved you are in the community. So talk a little bit about how you define social responsibility in your business and why it's so important to you.
So I am on a volunteer-led board in our industry called PromoCares. And that is an organization that we're not even like officially an organization, but just a bunch of us that believe that we don't want to be part of the problem with the world, and leaving around a bunch of what we're calling brand fill. We want to make sure that the items that we put out there are going to have good ROI. And even if it's something that didn't disintegrate after 10 years, maybe it's something that someone uses every day, and then that becomes something that is responsible to give out at a trade show or whatever. So we're very dialed in. And one thing that another value that Connect the Dots has is responsibility, and that's to your community and to your world. And like, we need to leave this better than we found it. And promotional products can be an issue sometimes. So I'm a big part of PromoCares, and we have a couple different pillars. And one of them has to do with, making sure that we've got workforce equality and the DEI aspect, but then it also has to do with give back campaigns. And because promotional products can be pulled often into promotional product or into give back campaigns. And so one we're actually doing right now is Water for Good, because we have our For Good events, and we did one on mental health around the pandemic. The Water for Good is with Planet Water, and our goal is $200,000 to build towers all over the world for water, fresh water. So in the industry, I'm very involved, and I do believe very, very much that we can be part of the solution and making the world a better place. And then here locally, UMOM, the homeless shelter, is a place that has had my heart for years. And I've been president of their women's auxiliary. I've been involved in any way I can. And a kind of a cool, like, the name of our company is Connect the Dots Promotions, and it's because we connect all the things. And a great example is UMOM. I did the walk for homelessness for years, and the giving was kind of going a little bit down. Maybe we need a fresh approach. So we collaborated with the staff there at UMOM, and they said, yeah, like let's take a stab at it. So we reached out to Guinness World Book of Records, and had the most people running in flip-flops in a 1K. And to this day, they're still the record winners. And so we coordinated not just the custom flip-flops that some of our clients ended up becoming sponsors, like everything connected. It was this beautiful, symphony of everything coming together. And we ended up giving, I think it was a 67% increase in giving. And then, we went from about 1,000 people to over 2,200 people coming out to the Phoenix Zoo. So, I mean, when you can really step into what your purpose is and like listen to those nudges, it's pretty awesome. And have people willing to like play these crazy games with you, because some awesome things can happen.
Yeah, that was the one that I actually had in mind in thinking about, even just in the intro, events and things like that. And I just know how mindful you are about not just getting any kind of item for a giveaway. And you're like, look, like how many times do you go to a trade show and you just have like a bag full of stuff that you just put away? And that is the opposite of what you want to do. And so just bringing the fun into it, the community, all that kind of stuff. I'm so glad you brought up the Guinness Book of World Records one, because that's the one that I remember. I just think about that event and how much work you put into it. So, but a lot of that stuff is done. You do partner with bigger corporations as well as the local, things. And I'm a very, very small business, and you're like, yes, I work with businesses that are small and local and have their reach looks like this, whereas you also work with bigger companies that have a much broader reach. So you've had brands like Walmart and Boeing, things like that. How do you incorporate social impact into those large scale partnerships?
The beauty of those are that they are coming to us with those requests now. It used to be that we were having to educate people on that. And now, they are seeing the values, and corporations are seeing the values in making sure that what they're giving out, it's their name. They're imprinting their name on something. You don't want it to be thrown in the trash immediately and then, contributing to the landfill issue. So it's kind of nice that the education has kind of swapped. And it used to be that we were educating the corporations of the importance of it, or like doing a tri-blend shirt instead of 100% cotton, because people will wear tri-blends. And yes, it's more expensive, but is it more expensive than spending $5 on a shirt and having it end up in the trash after being worn once? And then that's just not what we want. So yes, very mindful about all of that. And the corporations are more so dictating than ever the importance of it, because they see it too.
Well, yeah, I think you just kind of read my mind. That was going to be my next question, is how does your company approach sustainability in its products and services? Because I know that you and I have had that conversation about the landfills and things like that. And you're very mindful. You're like, no, please just look on my site, because I know where all of these things were made. I know where it's coming from. I know, all that kind of stuff. So talk about that a little bit and how you're proactive about that.
Well, there's so many details on that. And it's like when people think about buying promotional products, they don't think through all of that. And that's what we do. That's what we pride ourselves in, is that we're making sure that what you're getting the ROI from that. And sometimes, like we say this, we don't sell stress balls. Like, they're the worst thing for the earth. Like, why do you need a stress ball? There's so many other items that you could do where it will not end up in a landfill, not moving ever, because why do you want that? So I think we approach it in many ways, and it's not just the sustainability and like having a product that has many uses and many touch points, but it's also like, there can be a part of that also goes back to the corporate social responsibility side, where it is a give back campaign. So these 10 products, if you do this, a portion goes to whatever. There's all kinds of campaigns like that have been popping up, especially since PromoCares got started in our industry, because people like distributors like me all over the country are like, I don't know how to start with this. And we're like, here's a toolkit, like just sell these 10 items. And then that this will go to that cause. And if your client and user knows that they are into supporting vets or supporting the planet or supporting kelp in the ocean, like we can find something that has a contribution back to that. So there's a lot of approaches. It really depends on what the client is looking for. And if they don't know what they're looking for, we can help them curate it.
That's amazing. And I think one of the things that this podcast is really focused on is real journeys of real business owners. And you're talking about, mission and social responsibility, but at the same time, you are a business and you need to keep that moving. So what challenges have you faced in balancing your growth in your business with your mission for social responsibility?
It used to be a lot harder, but it's really not as much of an issue because I think we're not working with people that don't get it the way that we get it. Like we have values, and if you don't align with our values, that's totally fine. But like I am not going to sell you the stress ball. Like I'm going to do everything I can to change your mind. So I don't think it's as hard as as it was even like 5 years ago. I think people are more dialed into it.
What kind of
So
things did you face 5 years ago?
well, pandemic was a nightmare. But that had nothing to do with anything I could control, other than inventory and that kind of stuff. But I really haven't faced too many because I think we vet everybody ahead of time, where it's like some people just are not going to be our people, and that's okay.
I love that. That's, I think, something that I think a lot of business owners struggle with, especially early on,
Hmm.
is making the sale. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we've got bills to pay. We're in it, yes, because we love what we do or we believe in it or we have some sort of give back. But at the same time, we have to make a living. We have to live ourselves. And so when we're faced with that, how do you, I think for some people it's easier than others. And I get the sense that it's not something that you really struggle with, but what is it about? What do you do to vet your customers and decide, hey, maybe that we're not the right fit. Hey, what do you do at that point? How do you make that decision, and what do you do when you realize, okay, these are not the right customers for us?
Well, we have, I learned this through the Small Business Administration. They have the Small Business Development Center. And my coach at the time worked with me on a matrix. So it was like you actually score your clients before you bring them on. And it has, whatever is important to you should be listed. So one of ours is even like, are they fun? Like if it's a staunchy company and they don't realize that what we do is not brain surgery, mistakes can happen, but we will fix it 110%. But like, there's some things that go wrong. And if you can't be like floaty about that a little bit, then you're probably not our people either. So I don't think we ever get to the point of working with people where it's just like, no, like I feel like I'm pretty good about my gut and knowing immediately if it's going to work out or not. And sometimes we do start down the road a little bit and then we're like, it's just not going to work out. And that's okay. Here's other
But I
people.
think that's a huge takeaway, though, is really even scoring your customers, because I think
Mm-hmm.
we think of it a lot. I know that I do it when I'm thinking about who I'm going to buy from and
Mm-hmm.
looking at bids, and you're looking at price and quality and service and need and all those things, but where do they score out? But we never really do that about our own customers, do we? That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge, I think,
Yeah.
little tidbit. If I'm listening and I have not done that as a small business
Mm-hmm.
owner, maybe earlier on, that would be a really great resource. Go check out your SBDC. A lot of
Yes.
communities have small business development centers. You and I, that's how we met,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of getting a lot of resources that way early on. But I think that's a huge takeaway, is knowing who your customer is, score them, and knowing who's not. And not everybody's going to be
No,
your people. I
we are not
love that.
everybody's cup of tea.
I love that. I love that. So we touched a little bit on your intro about leadership, and you have leadership experience and education through ASU and UCLA. How have those experiences influenced your approach to business and community impact?
So we were able to do those classes through being certified as a women-owned business. So Connect the Dots is a WEB, and then we're also disabled owned. And that's another certification through a company, a third-party certification called Disability In. And so those have opened up not just clients and getting a seat at the table with the larger corporations, but then it also gives you this access to education, because all of these different organizations wants to get small business leaders and entrepreneurship within their tracks. So um, they each have brought something else to the table. And I would say like UCLA, I did that one during COVID. So it was like a lot of like, I hate the P word, but pivoting. But a lot of it had to do with that and reading all the articles about what to do as a small business owner. And then, yeah, every one of them, the ASU one was a lot about supplier diversity and like getting to know, the ecosystem that is of supplier diversity, which is very different than corporate to business kind of thing. So every one of them has brought something different. And then I also, I'm a lifelong learner. I don't think I should ever stop doing some type of coaching or learning. And so I'm also in EOA, so Entrepreneur Organization. But if you're under $1 million in revenue, then it's the Accelerator Program. And so that's an accountability group that I meet with monthly with all small business owners. And then also quarterly education around scaling up, which is a book about 4 pillars within your business and people and cash execution strategy. So I spent a lot of time learning.
Absolutely. And get yourself a tribe, right?
Yeah.
Surround yourself with other like-minded people. And I think that's why you and I have been connected for so long.
Yeah.
You know, we had a big group, but I think some of us kind of stayed connected a little bit. And when you find other people who are going in the same direction of you as you, have your same values, it really does help you as a business owner. And we could not talk for, you know, months or whatever, and years. Sometimes I think back to that time. I'm like, how long ago was that? I feel like it was just yesterday. But yeah, I mean, and it's still there. That connection is still there. You're not alone. They're always willing to come on a podcast with you or, you know, support you in your career in any way. But can you share any advice for other entrepreneurs looking to make their business more socially responsible?
I think, you know, every industry I think I've been noticing has some type of organization or movement around it. And so getting involved in your nonprofit association is always a great spot to start, you know, if your industry has something like that. You know, for us, I think our little gang of crazy misfits, I think we all showed up and created it because it didn't exist really. And now it's everywhere. And like all the tracks at all of our trade association trade shows are like full of sustainability and CSR, and it's just amazing to watch. So if it doesn't exist, I say go out and create it because we're entrepreneurs and that's what we do.
Yes, ma'am. I love that. And I also love hearing that the climate's changing, right? People are becoming more socially responsible. They're caring about sustainability. They're, you know, whether it's the companies that you're working with who are coming to you with, hey, we want to be involved in these areas, or it's your colleagues who are like, you can look around and say, hey, everybody here is, you know, really concerned about what they're producing and stuff. So that's
and
awesome.
I'm literally on that board with people that, you know, by any definition are my competitors, but we're like all so passionate about it that we're like, let's get together and figure this out. And then all of a sudden we're doing these for good campaigns and raising money for all these different things. And it's like, we're all do-gooders.
Yeah. And we need to hear, find your people. And and sometimes your people are your competitors. I love that. I love that you can come together for something that's bigger than you. And
absolutely,
that's not something, we don't hear those kind of stories, I think, every day. And there's so much more of that happening than we're ever really hearing about. So that's actually very encouraging. So looking forward, what are some of goals that you have for Connect the Dots Promotions in terms of social impact and what you see you and your company being involved in moving forward?
So I will definitely be involved in PromoCares and the industry movement and around that. And I think that is probably about all I can bite off at the moment. I mean, it's a volunteer-led association or group. It's not even officially association. So that's a great resource because it's also like lifting all the boats because there's people on here that are way further down the road than I am. So when we talk about different things, it's like, it's mind blowing sometimes of what they're doing with their clients or what their clients are requesting. So getting out in front of it and educating myself as fast as I can, because it's going to continue to change and evolve, I think too. And then I also serve on I was called back for an 18-month stint with our nonprofit association board of directors. I was on it back in early 2000s. And so they needed a vacancy filled and said, will you just come and do this? So I've had access to more information than I've had in a long time about what's happening in the world and product safety. And it's been a really eye-opening and educational experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what about you and Connect the Dots Promotions, social impact aside, where do you see the company heading in the next few years?
Last year, to be completely honest, I was like, I don't think it's going to exist anymore. Like I was ready after COVID and fighting to get out of that hole and the craziness that it all was. I wasn't passionate about it anymore. And I needed to go out and like find that excitement. So we made a major shift in my business where I had salespeople and we have no more salespeople and I just have one virtual assistant and that's it. Like that's all I'm doing. So I really, as my coach tells me, I wasn't tearing it down, but I was pruning it. And I do already see profitability going up in a lot of great ways because I made some really tough decisions. So 3 to 5 years, I don't know. Maybe I'll sell it.
Wow.
Who knows?
Wow. Yeah. And we haven't spoken in a while. So
Yeah.
as you're saying
Yeah.
this, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's actually really cool. I think that is one thing that business owners don't realize. They own the business. They
Yeah.
get to make decisions on the direction of where their company goes. And even though your goals might have looked one way for a time,
6 months ago, I mean, it's crazy.
anything can change at any moment, and you are allowed to change your mind and you're allowed to pivot in a direction
Yeah.
that you really didn't see yourself going. But I think that's it is kind of overused, but it is a good word for those
Yeah.
kind of things is you're allowed to change your mind. And
Yeah.
if you're finding that the situation that you're in is not really right for what you see your company going, that is your responsibility to make that change. And
Right.
I applaud you for doing that. And I think if anybody feels that at any given moment, just know you have permission to look at your structure, your organizational structure, your team, and say, is this really what I want to be doing? Because I think all of us in the beginning were like, yeah, go, 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 grow,
Mm-hmm.
add this, add that. We're going to make a big impact and a lot of revenue and build the sales team. But at the end of the day, look at your bottom line. Is that more
Yeah.
profitable? Sometimes
Right.
yes, sometimes no. Like you said, you're pruning back down to maybe where you started. And at the end of the day, hey, profitability is going up. So really just analyzing that and
Yeah.
making sure that you're really going the direction you want to go.
Yeah. And I think I found too, like, you start out in the E-Myth, that book. I don't know if you've read it, but it talks
Yes.
about, being a technician and then, visionary. And it was like, for the longest time, I was trying to do all the things. And I was like, I'm not passionate or enjoying this at all. Like, I don't love this anymore. And so I kind of like put out to my tribe, like, hey, I'm not happy. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where this direction is going. And a really cool opportunity showed up. So I actually have another job. I'm vice president of sales for a company that does promotional products, but in the collegiate world, called Campus Stop.
How
And they're
fun.
licensed. Yeah. So they're licensed with all these different colleges and universities across the country. And when I was pruning at the end of last year, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, I'm going to have nobody left. And I love the people. I love coaching. I love mentoring. I've been doing this for so long. Like, I want to give back. And then it was like this opportunity came out and it was like, here. And so now I have a consulting gig essentially where I have income from that that's not attached to the cost of goods, which was driving me nuts because it was like everything I was doing had, a margin that was set. So that was another thing where I was like, there's a problem. Like, here's a lever. I'm going to pull it and see what happens. And so it's been a really funny journey the last couple months.
That's amazing. Well, welcome to the consulting world. Welcome to this
Yes,
side of
thank
things. I
you.
mean, you've really that's what you do essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
You really do consult with businesses, whether it's through Connect the Dots or you're doing it exclusively for,
right,
another company. But
right.
yeah, that's what you get with you. So where can people find you if they wanted to come looking for you?
So our website is ctdpromotions.com. And then I am on Instagram and Facebook and all those fun things. I'm not really on
Awesome.
X very much. So check
Yeah,
me
I
out
think
on
a lot of
Facebook
that
and
has
Instagram.
changed.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, Karie. I love talking with you. Great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is brought to you by Seeker Solution. Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed? We can help. Head over to seekersolution.com to schedule a call today. Would you or someone you know like to be featured on this podcast? Our applications are now open. Apply today at seekersolution.com and click on the podcast link to get started.